I was going to wait till I had some new lights because my ex broke one of my lights, Chuchi broke the other, and I'm left to one light for lighting camera stuff. So at night, obviously, it's less than ideal to have one light. I was sent this computer case by Gamdias. I don't know how you pronounce it, to be honest. They also threw in a power supply, which is cool and all. The reviews are mixed on it, so I'm definitely not reviewing it or recommending something I haven't used yet myself. On top of that, it was packed inside of the computer case, but there wasn't any sort of protection for it to keep it from rocking back and forth. It was just stuck in, and that was that. So it was wiggling around and getting slammed up and down. So I'm not even going to attempt to use it because I don't know how much damage was done through shipping. It's also an RGB PSU. Right here, a little bit more emphasis on damage to the PSU itself. Just like some superficial scratches and whatnot, but if it got dinged around enough to really scrape that paint, see, look, I can't do it with my nail. I'm not gonna risk a system. One thing I can give Gamdias credit for right here, the tempered glass, this is like a small thing. The fact that they actually put plastic on both sides. What the fuck was that? Okay, yeah, something broke inside the computer. And that's where I had the power supply at. And there's this little metal black piece broken off. So, as I said, good thing I didn't bother with that PSU. Well, anyway, as I was saying, they put plastic on both ends. Corsair only does plastic on the front. My current case that I'm using is the, 570X. Beautiful case. But I feel for the price, it's a letdown. Nothing personal, but it's the truth. After seeing what Fantex has to offer, which I do have a Fantex case here, I haven't opened it yet. Obviously, if you watch my channel religiously, you know why. It's now obvious that there is either these are slightly off, or the front door panel for this case is slightly off. The other side went on with the greatest of ease. It took literally a minute. This side I have been messing with probably for 30 or 40 minutes. And it doesn't matter how I approach the problem, I come up with the same issue. When they're both lined up on top like this, it just won't slide down whatsoever. And it becomes insanely frustrating. Here's the issue. It's literally sitting on top of the pin here and here. It should just slide down like the other side, but it does not. And I don't want to force it because it's tempered glass. You know, my luck, it would break. Look at this. You should be experiencing these type of quality control issues on a case this expensive for $150. I know Gamdias is new, but that's a pretty big asking price, especially when there's so much competition. The Corsair case is $20 more, but right now during the Black Friday sale, it's the same price, if not a little cheaper. It's like $140 something. I thought about attempting to take off the hinges and maybe I could attach them to the door and then put it back on the case, but that's a no-go. These screws script so easily that it's not remotely funny. It's actually scary. It's the last thing you want to need. As I said before, the other side though, right on. Did it in a minute. Let's try again after bending some stuff. You shouldn't even have to go through shit like this. Like, for real. Okay, finally got the door on. I literally had to use a screwdriver
wedged up between the metal rod and the case. Like I was using my stomach to bend the metal rod while my hands slid the door in place. You shouldn't have to do that with a case that costs $150. There's no excuse for that. That's bad quality control. That is just ridiculous. You need to use tools to forcibly put the thing together. It's not really held in place too tightly, so it's not hard to get open, but there's no sort of easy latch to get the door open. I guess that leads to the minimalism. Obviously there is an RGB element here, here. The front panel fans are RGB as well. Seems like a lot of room for wire management. It doesn't look like it's going to be good, unless you're good at wire management. This is not the type of case that would hide your wire management flaws at all. Here's another issue I have. Does this come off? Also, there were no instructions, surprisingly. Either that or they forgot to put instructions in the box for me. I received no instructions, so if you have never built a computer before, this might be an issue for you. Maybe the instructions are online. One thing I'm going to say off the bat right now that I'm not liking, there's no mesh in the front where air is sucked in. Why would there be no mesh here? There's mesh covering on the top, there's mesh covering at the bottom, but none at the front. That doesn't make much sense to me at all. Because if this is where you're pulling in air from, it's going to move a lot of dust in your computer, especially for pet owners. Speaking from experience. The air will just go right through this. It'll go right inside, and Dust City, man, your stuff will be dusty. Like I said, this is not wire management friendly in my opinion. In the sense of, if you are not good at wire management, this case really isn't for you. I can tell right here what little wires are here. This little bit of wiring is enough to pop the door open with the greatest of ease. I hate Molex connectors, I really do. Why Molex? It's 2018. Why Molex? The newer cases are moving away from Molex connectors. How many people still use Molex? The fan control is right here. So then I guess you have to put the SSDs on the other side. If done cleanly, it can look good, but overall I don't see it being a boon here. I think $150 is a lot to ask for this case. I know it'll probably put me on some blacklist to say this, but just looking at it, bare bones right now, there are better cases for the price range. That's the most honest way I can put it. There are better options for the price range than this. I'd like to be positive about it, but when I think about the Fantex Evolve X, $50 more and you have a way better case. You could buy the Corsair, my current case, Corsair G570X. You could probably buy Cooler Master cases that are cheaper, look just as good, or at the same price point, and probably have a better fleshed out case. Originally I thought this case was going to be something like $80 to $100. It's real light, but on the point of flimsy. I want to call to attention the drive bays. Honestly, these are probably the worst drive bays I've ever come across.
I'm not trying to be an asshole or anything, but really, look at this. It's like, on what planet is this easy or fun? And I know what you're thinking. Maybe I'd have to go to the front and take it out. You can't get these from the front. How would this work? Because it's bending to get in place. Now this right here is a $60 case. Maybe even cheaper. Watch this. Even with all these wires in the way, look how easy that comes out. Even with all of these wires in the way. It's that simple. $60. This is a dirt cheap case. This is $150. The opposing case. This drive is oversized. It's old, but it would fit in the white case. It should fit this too. Alright, well, at least that is decent. These rubber grommets here that are supposed to grab on and hold it in place also hinder it. You have to literally, see, I got the first one in because I could twist it and put it in. Now the second one, so basically you have to strong arm this because the friction is what holds it in place. Look at that. You have to force it in. So this is the second take of the Gamdias Talos P1. I contacted the representative that speaks to me, and they asked if I could show off the lighting mechanism for this case after I gave them my grievances with the case as a whole. Another thing I'm noticing, obviously I had to put risers inside. It's not going to help. You know what a riser is for a computer, to put your motherboard in. Unfortunately, this riser is giving me a little bit of pain, and I also don't come. It also doesn't come with a tool for installing the risers, which is actually quite odd. A riser tool like this, surprisingly, this case doesn't come with one. Why not is beyond me. Also, another thing I should probably bring to attention. This area right here. You probably can't see it well, or maybe you can. Like, there's dents in this area where the power supply goes. Obviously, once again, in the way they packed the power supply in this was not a lot of care put into that, or a lot of thought. I don't even know what to say to that. I highly doubt anyone who pays for a case would experience this, but if it's a review sample for someone you want to sell your product, it's not a good look at all, man. So far, just looking at the buttons, the bottom one's for lighting, the top one's for fan speed. Oddly enough, when I press them, they don't do anything. Overall, it's a nice looking case. And that's about it. I do like the fact that the USB port is modular. You can switch it from the bottom to the top if you so choose. But that's about where it ends for me. The other plus side is the fact that it's big enough to support a 360mm rad. But for me personally, I wouldn't choose this case to put my computer in. For the price range that they want for it, there are too many lackluster features. There are too many things wrong here. There are too many things not executed properly. I feel that this case was designed to appeal to gamers, and everything else was an afterthought. Maybe this is RGB. I don't know for sure because the little controller isn't working, and I don't know why. Other than the possibility that in shipping or something, some wires were bent. And that could possibly be the case. The basement that holds the PSU was dented up. For some reason, the inside was incredibly dusty, as if it was left out in the open for a prolonged period of time. Maybe it just sat in a warehouse. You know, and then they fished it to me. On top of that, the front panel does not feature a filter. There's a filter at the bottom. There's a filter at the top. But there is no filter in the front. As far as room goes, it's a fairly spacious case. There's not much I can say here because overall, a lot of the implementation isn't that great. There are 2 docking bays for hard drives. So if you're using 2.5-inch drives, you only have 2 slots that you can use. That's it. The SSDs, as you've probably already seen, can be mounted here. Not my favorite way to mount them, but it's kind of like the only logical place to put them due to the lack of space for storage. It's mind-blowing. The dents here blow. This area here, I guess it's to show off if you have an RGB fan for your PSU. So if you have that, this is cool. If not, it really serves no purpose for me other than to work some wires through. There's just not enough meat on the bone. Unfortunately, there's just not enough. There's not enough here at all. There are so many cases at a similar price point that it would make no sense to buy this. On top of that, all the issues I ran into with trying to put it together, the lack of space for wire management is huge here. Like, you really have to be good at wire management to actually make this work. It's too compact. It's too closed in. There's too much here that just there's no reason to get this case, in my opinion. And this is coming from someone who got it. Maybe, maybe I'm just too hard on the case. But then again, I've worked with a lot of computer cases in my life. And maybe I have a bit more experience than the average YouTuber in my position that finally gets some sort of free stuff to review. But for me personally, I feel the case was too heavily focused on visuals, and everything else is an afterthought. I've probably said that 1,000 times. And on that note, let's end the video on a positive. I'm giving away this keyboard, the Logitech Orion Spark, retailing at $179. Probably cheaper on Newegg by now. Black Friday's coming up, most likely it's cheaper. It's brand new. I opened it to look it over. By the time Logitech gave me my replacement keyboard, I had already picked up a Corsair Cherry MX Speed. And so I have no use for this whatsoever. So, fuck it. Giving it away to whoever comments the video. That's that. And a little surprise for those people who actually care enough to watch at the end of the video. I was going to give away this keyboard in a Chuchi video, and since Chuchi isn't here anymore, that video obviously isn't going to be made, so in her honor, another keyboard given away.